No BS Nutrition is staying 6 feet away, and we're not mad about it.
This is a 1 hour food fight against diet culture and its fake science messages.
Instead, we're passionate about celebrating real wellness.
I'm registered dietitian Hannah McGee.
And I'm neuroscience PhD student Tareq Youssef, and this is No BS Nutrition.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think so. I know. Okay. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody. This is season 2, right?
Season 2.
Episode 1. Season 2, episode 1. Yeah, here we are.
I
guess we should thank everyone.
Literally, we just started. Yes, we should thank everybody. We just started recording, and my cat's already trying to get in my business.
Really? Well, I can't hear anything, so.
Okay, good.
Which cat is it?
Baxter.
Be quiet, Baxter.
But you're right. Yes, absolutely. We should thank everybody. Season 1 was so much fun.
It was, and yeah, we took a little break, as we mentioned we were going to do at the end of season 1. So thank you, everyone, for your patience and for sticking with us and for listening now.
And thank you
really
for
excited.
Listening to season 1. We really, like, as much fun as it was to record together, it was also fun to see that people were enjoying it.
Yes, absolutely. Here I go with my throat clearing. All right. So we wanted to come back, I guess right around this time. Like, this is what we had originally planned anyways.
That's true.
But then, right now, the global pandemic that we're experiencing kind of at first threw a wrench in things, because we were we were trying to figure out how we were going to go about recording, because all of season 1, except for, I guess, the last episode, we recorded together, face-to-face, in person.
Right.
And now, obviously, with COVID-19 and social distancing, that's not an option for us. And we're also living in different provinces right now.
But it seems like everybody in the world has a podcast, first of all. And everybody who does have a podcast, this hasn't stopped them. Everybody has been recording remotely.
Right.
As far like of the podcasts that I follow.
Yeah, no, me too. So I guess that's the beauty of technology these days. You can do anything virtually, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy we can keep doing it, because I mean, I know you love it too. I love our little recording sessions.
Me too. And yeah, our sound quality might not be as good as it was when we were recording in studio, but at least you still get to listen to us.
But that might change too, because we're sort of in the process of figuring out some new pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe halfway through this season, it's going to sound almost as if we're in a sound booth.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. We have some stuff coming in soon that we're going to try, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. All right. So I guess maybe we should introduce the topic for today. And it's very relevant, I guess. It's the only thing that's relevant right now.
I know. Is anyone talking about anything else?
No. So we thought that we would do an episode kind of around COVID-19 and food and eating and meal planning and grocery shopping and all of that.
Hopefully it won't be hopefully it won't be the same kind of stuff you've been hearing everywhere else. I think a lot of people have just been, sadly, there's a lot of it, and some of it is rightfully so, anxiety around COVID-19. So there's just like a lot of worry that's being talked about in the media. A lot of really great dietitians, healthcare practitioners, and I don't know, scientists have been presenting some optimistic media around or communications around COVID-19, and we're really trying to be of service. So hopefully this does the same sort of thing, rather than just like talking about everything. Like, hopefully you'll actually get something out of it.
Totally. Yeah, we're here to kind of inform you guys and help you guys like you said, we want to be of service.
And I forgot, like, the best thing about this podcast for me is that it forces me to do research, and I'm forced, or not
Right.
forced, but like I get to learn about all of this stuff in a much deeper way rather than just, like as I normally would with something that we don't talk about on the podcast that I'm not familiar with because of school. I just like scroll through Twitter and Instagram and I kind of get an idea for what it is. But I kind
Right.
of, I delve into these topics, and so do you. And at least for me, it really gives me a greater knowledge base for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we start off with the BS of the week?
Well, okay. Well, I'm very, very happy to give a BS of the week. I kind of, so this week I thought I would do it a little differently because there's been so much that's happened recently. I kind of
Hmm.
thought it was almost unfair to focus on a single thing.
Right.
Rather, I have a few like rapid fire BSs of the week,
Ooh,
if that's
okay. I
okay.
like that. Yeah.
And they're all related to the coronavirus, and also slash related to nutrition. So
Perfect.
kind of perfectly tailored for what we're doing here today.
Yay.
And obviously, all the links for everything we talk about are going to be included in the show notes and
Yep.
probably tweeted out and Instagrammed out for everybody to take a look at for themselves.
Yep.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to start off, um, trying to be of service a little bit. There is one medical doctor on Twitter called Faheem Younus at Faheemyounus. He's an
Okay.
MD on Twitter. He's awesome, and he had this like really great phrasing, just a good summary for what to do about COVID-19. Like if somebody's just like feeling anxiety and worry, I thought this was a great way to start off the podcast. Just kind of a little short sentence that empowers you to feel like, you can be a part of having control over your own body and also contributing to the betterment of
Hmm.
the people around you
Right.
during the pandemic. So I'll quote him. He says, "Our biggest return on investment is in hand washing, staying 6 feet away, and avoiding large crowds." And I
Yeah.
would personally add to that, stay at home if you
Yep.
can, and find safe ways to help vulnerable people around you, and listen to the advice of your local government. I think if you're worried about COVID-19, as long as you do those things, you should really be in good standing.
Hmm.
Thomas and I have limited our um, movement from our apartment
Yep.
quite a lot. We've just gone out to get groceries, and we've really limited the amount of time. We used to go every week. We're now going every second week. It's
Hmm.
only been, I think, 3 weeks since we've been in, like the government has, or at least the Canadian government has asked people to
Right.
stay in isolation,
Yes.
right? So
Yes. Yep.
um, the only other times we've kind of had some movement were to kind of check in on people who, family, friends who are a bit older. We wanted to make sure um, or had access to supplies and food.
Right.
But other than that, other than some exercise outside from a safe distance from other people, we've pretty
Hmm.
much been at home. Um, he also, Fahim Yunus mentions how people are saying that. Here's a BS of the week. One of the BS of the week, anyway. He mentions this thing going around that people are saying they're going to get COVID-19 from ordering food and takeout.
Okay.
But that's complete BS. So the reality is the virus is going to be spread through droplets. So like through spit, for example, which is why we're being asked to not be in close proximity to other people. It's not a foodborne infection. So a foodborne infection would kind of be like salmonella,
Right.
something that, sometimes salmonella is found in great excess in lettuce at the grocery stores and nobody can
Yep.
buy lettuce for a week or something like
Yep.
that. Or maybe a really shady restaurant has some salmonella poisoning or something, but that's pretty rare. So if you order takeout, all you people really need to worry about is making sure, I mean, at the most extreme, wiping down your heavy use surfaces like counters, your doorknobs, since you went out and got the food from the delivery person or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I give anything that enters my apartment, food or otherwise, a little wipe down with some cleaning
Yep.
solution just to be
Yep.
safe. But I'm not afraid about bringing stuff in. I'm not afraid about ordering takeout and bringing it in because
Yeah,
it's not a foodborne infection. COVID-19 has not been associated with food at all.
right. So that's what I was going to add. I mean, I think it's important to note that, I mean, as we're talking, and we've seen this over the last, I mean, over the last few months, but even the last few weeks as well, that things are constantly changing in terms of what we're finding out about COVID-19 and yeah, exactly. How things are developing and new, obviously, the research that's being done about it is being done every day. This is a brand new thing that we're all experiencing. So there's not a lot of research around it or anything like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I wanted to say that, yeah, in terms of COVID-19 and exposure to it through food, there's no evidence right now to show that that's the case or that's something that we need to be worried about.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
cooking
having it
also
transmitted
kills the
through food.
virus. Yeah.
Right. So I agree with you that if you're concerned about something in terms of food delivery and getting takeout and stuff like that, it's more so one like coming in contact with the food delivery driver or something like that,
Right.
like maybe asking them to just drop the food off at your door,
Right.
because that's where, like you said, the highest risk is when you come in contact with other people,
And that's what we've
and
been doing, that sort of we pick it up off the doorstep sort of thing.
yeah, and then to the next risk, but again, not as high as coming face to face contact with someone, would be like the surfaces that the food is packaged in and things like
Right.
that. That, like you said, you're wiping down, or maybe you transfer the food from the package that it was placed in to be delivered and place it in another package or dishes or things like that, and making sure
Right.
you're washing your hands and things like that before you eat.
Absolutely.
Those are all, the most important things. Right now, yeah, there's not a whole lot of reason to believe that you could get or come in contact with the coronavirus, where it can be transmitted through food.
Right. And the
Yeah.
sad thing is that this kind of fear has actually extended into people, um, very sadly discriminating against and not supporting Chinese food
Yep.
establishments
Yep.
specifically because of the geographic origins of the pandemic. But honestly, it's just prejudice, and those people need to get a life because that's not how you're going to get disease. But the disease by eating
I
Chinese
know.
food.
Yeah.
Thankfully, so I actually saw this graph of some data from the United States, um, looking at the amount of food takeout that people were ordering, because people are stuck at home. It seems like although there was an initial market dip in Chinese food takeout orders, it's kind of rising again because people are, well, they're finding themselves at home and they're finding themselves craving Chinese food.
Yeah,
So
totally.
hopefully it's not affecting the industry too much.
We ordered
Um,
Chinese food last week, I
oh
think,
yeah,
last
I mean,
weekend.
I can't
Yeah.
stop ordering Chinese food.
Yeah.
um, I found this other article kind of still under the BSs of the week, from the Conversation Canada that I'll link below, by a PhD candidate from McMaster University named Jeremy Cohen. It's called Coronavirus Cures for $170 and Other Hoaxes, Why Some
Hmm.
People Believe Them. So, I mean, I'm sure people have seen them. It's really sad, again. Um, uh, these not conspiracy, these fake products that people are selling, um, to quote cure coronavirus. I'm sorry, I'm still kind of getting used to looking at myself in the video, knowing that this is
Honestly,
going to be
so
part of the
am I.
podcast.
It's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bear
Yeah,
with
okay.
us.
Yeah.
If you're watching the
um,
video and we look super awkward, just know that we're not used to this yet.
well, and I'm also realizing I like to use my hands to gesture while I'm talking. I'm
Oh,
realizing I
me
can actually
too.
do that now to
Yeah.
kind of get a point across, whereas
Yeah,
before I
yeah.
had to just rely on my voice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, Anyway, so Jeremy Cohen, and we'll link this, talks about why people might fall for these conspiratorial theories around cures for coronavirus. It's an interesting read. I think people might enjoy it. I mean, what else are you doing? You're at home.
Right.
And it's an interesting read about how disbelief in the establishment can be a reason that people might fall for these things. And it highlights some really
Yeah.
outrageous fake cures. One of them I did not come across until I saw this. Jeremy Cohen, also, as far as I could see, apart from studying anthropology, also focuses on religious studies.
Okay.
Um, and I think his research focuses on, I might get this wrong, why some people fall for religious cults. Jeremy Cohen, slide into the DMs if that's incorrect. But you seem to be doing some interesting work. So he brings up this one where a televangelist apparently he claimed to heal his viewers through the television. So the still from the video, what I'm doing it in the video now, was him like evangelizing, like praying, and like having his hand at the camera, like telling people he was curing them of coronavirus.
Oh my God.
Um,
What?
if we had that kind of power, like, wouldn't we have solved world hunger by now? Like, I don't think,
100%.
you know what I mean? Anyway, so that article kind of highlights some interesting hoaxes, fake cures
Right.
for coronavirus. At this point, there is no cure for coronavirus. There are treatments that are being administered to people of moderate to
Yep.
high symptomology, but there's no cure. We
Right.
don't have a vaccine. It's going to take a while. So
Yep.
anybody who's telling you they're going to cure you is wrong. It's actually
100%.
probably going to be dangerous rather than help you. And then just
Yeah.
my last bit here. Um, Sadly, the world of fake teas is alive and well, Hannah. So this is an article from the from the CBC um, called "Medical Experts Warn Against Claims by Winnipeg Acupuncturist Advertising Coronavirus Prevention Tea." The article was written by Caroline Barghout and was contributed to by Kristin Annable, and I'll link them and the article.
Okay.
Um, so this acupuncturist in Winnipeg was selling. I think he's still selling the teas, but he had to change his phrasing around the claim, which I think is ridiculous. Selling a tea in Winnipeg, and if you go to the article, you'll see the kind of pamphlet that he drew up,
Okay.
charging $60 for a 6-day treatment. Okay,
Frig off.
normally when I buy tea, if I buy $60 worth, I'm good for I don't know,
Oh my God. A
10
year.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. More than a year.
um,
Crazy.
so $60 for a 6-day treatment, and I hate when fake science gets into people's wallets. Like as much as I hate
Yeah.
the promotion of fake science, like people just talking about it, if it costs someone money, I'm like, oh my, like I just hate it so
I
much.
know.
So the even sadder thing, I think, well, this is kind of a contentious topic, I think, and one that I'm definitely not equipped to talk about on my own. Maybe we can have a lawyer come in one day or somebody from Health Policy, but Health Canada does not regulate, among many other alternative medicines,
Mm-hmm.
specialties,
Yep.
which is why you can go out and buy a bunch of basically fake crap from
Totally.
specialty grocers that claim to help you with your health in whatever way.
Right.
Health Canada only inspects products on a complaint basis. So there was a complaint put in about this tea, which then forced that person to, rather than call it a coronavirus prevention tea, like a coronavirus helping tea or something. I can't remember
Oh God.
what it
So is
was
that what
now.
they were initially calling it? A
A
prevention tea?
prevention tea. So the acupuncturist was saying that Chinese medical experts in Wuhan and health practitioners were taking this tea to prevent coronavirus, which is not true, and
Right.
also it doesn't work like that.
Right.
Um, yeah. Again, I mean, if it sounds like
Ah.
magic, like it's just not true.
Well, and
And
I
don't you
think that
think we would have solved so many other
yes,
problems if
it's
we had
just
this
important
technology?
also to drive home at this point that people are obviously jumping on this, which is so incredibly sad, but as a way to profit. And so calling this tea like a corona, like what if obviously this wouldn't be a thing late 2019 coronavirus prevention tea, people would be like, What's that? But so
We'd
how
all
do you,
be sipping tea, and I'd still be out. I would be back outside. I'd be at the lab.
right, if that was a
Yeah.
thing. And like, if anyone is marketing anything as like specific to coronavirus right now, in terms of like health products and teas and food and things like that, seriously turn the other way. Like that is
Yeah,
the
and there's a
most,
lot of it. I
yeah,
mean, these people work fast.
exactly. I know. Um,
I can't believe it
and
sometimes.
I get like, and you and I listened to something about this last week, but like I get the wanting to be of service and
Hmm.
talking about really the, like we said, the only relevant thing right now, because that's what we're also hyper focused on, that it almost seems insensitive to talk about other things. But there's a difference between that and like false advertising and misleading the public like to make a profit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think misleading is the right word. Like I think these people, or most of them, know their product is BS.
Oh
They're just
yeah,
trying to
they're
make
just trying to
money.
make money. They're taking advantage of everyone's panic and like desperation right now. Um, yeah, really sad.
Really sad. I mean, that's my those are my BSs of the week.
Those were great. Thank you for sharing those with us. Um, I think those will bring, I guess, some things to the public's attention and
Yeah.
help people be a little more aware what they're consuming, and also what they need to do in terms of precautions.
I think
I
an
know
interesting thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, back to the one that you mentioned about ordering takeout and like delivery services. I think there is a lot of kind of fear and anxiety around that right now, and
Yeah.
so I'm glad that you brought it up. And it's important to note that right now there's nothing showing that that's um, a large risk, a huge risk for um, coming in contact with or contracting
I mean, we can also think about it
coronavirus.
as like we're not stopping grocery shopping, right? So as long as you maintain your distance with the delivery person or you maintain your distance when you go pick up food from an establishment, you make sure you wipe down your surfaces, wash your hands as you would normally. There's no reason to
Yeah.
fear it. I mean, it's just added anxiety onto your person for no reason. Like we don't need that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just before we keep going, I'll do a little bit. I have a little bit about like what is COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. So COVID actually stands for coronavirus. COVID-19 stands for coronavirus disease. That's the D,
Okay.
2019. So that's the illness that people will get when they contract the
Yep.
virus, which,
Yep.
and the virus is actually called SARS-CoV-2, SARS coronavirus 2. So it's part of the coronavirus family of viruses that's related to, genetically related to the SARS. Um, uh,
Oh.
virus as well as even strains like the common cold. So viruses have genetic code like we do,
Right.
and they can be related and they can mutate. And they have various strains that are all related to each other. So this coronavirus is actually in the same family of viruses as the common cold um, and the SARS virus. And actually, all this information I'm getting comes from a really, really awesome infographic that a bunch of students from Harvard Med made up that I'll link that I really, really like.
Okay.
The symptoms, the most common ones are fever, dry cough, fatigue, which is basically you having an immune response uh, as the virus starts replicating in your body. And the immune response is what results in those symptoms. Your
Right.
body's basically trying to fight off the virus. So
Yeah.
people with mild symptoms are going to mostly require just a 4-day quarantine until they feel better, until their body fights it off. No
Mm-hmm.
special magic medicines or anything. And but people with more severe symptoms or maybe have people with underlying conditions are going to have to be hospitalized.
Yes.
So it's pretty serious that we don't need to have anxiety about our futures here if we're taking measures to stay at home as much as possible and participate in physical distancing. Um, Making sure you take care of yourselves in the way that you can, having safe
Mm-hmm.
exercise outside if you're able to do so.
Yeah.
I think so. This is a kind of a difficult thing I want to kind of get across. A lot of people are not taking this seriously, and a lot of
Yeah.
people are saying that taking it seriously leads to anxiety. But
Yeah.
I kind of want to promote the opposite. I want to flip that on its head, and I would suggest that taking it seriously actually reduces anxiety because then we know we're doing our part to not only take care of ourselves, but to support the healthcare system and to not overburden it, which will lead
Totally.
to less stress overall, in your local area or in your country. So,
Right.
yeah, does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think the more it's important to realize that the more we do now, like the more serious we take it now, the hopefully the less serious um, effects it will have like in the upcoming months.
Right. It's kind of a return on investment, just like Faheem Younus was saying earlier when I quoted his tweet. We take care of ourselves now, we take this seriously now, we'll be able to flatten or plank the curve so that
Exactly.
our healthcare system doesn't get overburdened and
Exactly. Yeah.
our communities stay healthy. It
And
shouldn't be it could be anxiety inducing, but it's less anxiety overall if we take it seriously now.
totally. And I think, and even the recommendations around staying home, like the quicker that, I'm not saying it's going to be quick, but like the quicker that we can, not we, but the healthcare system and the governments and everything like that can get it under control, like that directly, like our actions now directly have an impact on that. So
Yeah. We're
I
all
think,
helping.
yeah, and I agree with you. Like people definitely aren't taking it seriously, and
Yeah.
it's frustrating, and it's also like I've experienced friends and things like that like kind of chirping me for taking this as serious as I can
Yeah.
and like being really cautious about maintaining distance and not having social contact and things
I
like that
know.
and like I've been made to feel a little bit like I'm being silly.
Me too.
Even
Yeah.
even like a couple weeks ago when it what there we were just starting to get these recommendations rolled out by the Canadian government and provincial governments and things like that. I was like really nervous to like we had friends invite us over to like their friend's house and like we declined the offer because we weren't going to go socialize, um
Yeah.
especially with people that we like like a larger group of people that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And um we kind of got a little like like flack from it and just kind of
I'm sorry to hear
like
that.
an eye roll kind of thing, and it
And
was like
I know what you're thinking is it's not about you because
no.
you're very healthy and if you get sick, you can take care of yourself, but it's about the people around you and the more vulnerable, immunocompromised, older people with
Exactly.
underlying
And
conditions.
just
That's who it's
flattening the
about.
curve in general. Like it was just
Yeah.
about doing my part to prevent and like delay or prevent the spread. Like that's
Yeah.
what it was about. It wasn't about me like being worried about somebody else having it and me coming in contact with it. That's not what it was
Right.
at all. It was
Yeah.
like just doing my part to stay home and like prevent the spread. Like,
Yeah. I want to say I just touched my face in the video, but I washed my hands and I haven't been outside in I don't know how
honestly, I
long.
probably have touched my face as well. Yeah, as long as I'm in my
um,
home and I'm washing my hands regularly,
yeah.
like yeah, I do touch my face a fair bit,
That's
but
a really good point, Hannah. I'm really sorry people have been guilting you. Don't be that person if you're listening to this and you're guilting other
yes.
people. If you're making the decision to, I mean, I don't want to shame anybody. If you're making a decision to do something against the recommendations of your local government, that's your prerogative. Don't shame other people for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, I'm gonna cough here. um, I think as well, it's important that during this time this is a little off track, but to recognize that yeah, I mean, we should all be doing the social, taking our part, social distancing, going out as little as we possibly can, all of those things. But some people are taking, I guess, more precautions than others. And maybe we'll get into that a little bit in terms of, I know we're going to talk about grocery shopping and what we're doing and things like that. And I think that's also okay right now to, how am I going to say this? Like, be okay with what other people are doing, as long as you're not
Yeah.
kind of like spreading more panic and fear, like that's not so much that it's unnecessary.
Well,
Like
and the
if
other
you're
thing
doing
too,
every single precaution when you bring groceries into the house, like you're,
yeah.
I saw someone online, and we'll talk about this, but like they were like designating an area on their kitchen counter to like set the groceries, and then
Mm,
they were wearing gloves and they took all the groceries out, put them somewhere else, they wiped them all off, they did this whole thing, and then they sanitized the counter, and like it seemed, it seemed like a lot, and like for some
yeah.
people that's what's reducing their anxiety right now, but then for other people that like going to like such extremes might also heighten anxiety, like feeling like they have to do that. And we'll talk about that more, but
Yeah, and maybe I'll throw in too, like those people, it sounds like, and you and I mean, we have the privilege of being able to work from home, um, get our groceries, make the decision to stay at home as much as possible. Whereas, I mean, a lot of people don't have that privilege. A lot of people are being
mm,
forced to go to work because
yeah,
they're either their essential services or their governments are erroneously deeming their work as essential services and not
yeah,
letting them stay home, and they don't have an income outside of doing that, and they have to
yeah,
risk their lives and be at the front lines. And we're very grateful to all those people, and everybody has different circumstances, of course. But you're right. The biggest thing we should worry about is taking care of ourselves as much as possible, trying to spread proper information
yes,
without
exactly.
judgment,
Yeah,
and yeah, and not shaming other people.
yeah, I agree. Also, you mentioned like the people working on the front lines. My mom is a nurse, and so she's still working right now. She's actually been like she doesn't usually work in patient care, and she's still
Hmm.
not, but she kind of got what's the word I'm looking for? Directed elsewhere, like in terms of her work. Usually she trains
Oh, okay.
family practice nurses to like work in family doctor's offices and things like that. But
Hmm.
obviously right now that's not where the need is. So now she's um, putting together training materials for like COVID-19 assessment and things like
I
that.
love your mom.
Me too. So I wanted to shout out to her because she's still working hard. She's actually working, usually she works part time. She's working full time right now, like doing all that in Nova Scotia. So shout out to her. Also, my sister, still working lots. She works at a grocery store in the produce department. So she's still
Yeah, I mean
at
that
the
is front
store.
lines. As
She's
much, I think
frontline. Yep.
honestly, as much as the hospitals are, grocery stores are front lines right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah, I wanted to give them a shout out and everyone
That's
else
awesome.
who's still, working on the front lines. We appreciate you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I've talked for too long now.
I don't think you have.
You think? Okay.
Maybe let's talk a little bit. I know that we kind of were going to share what we're doing in terms of shopping and
Yeah.
meal preparation and what kind of foods we're buying and things like that, maybe to help other people kind of figure out not necessarily what they should be doing, but maybe some tips and tricks around, I don't know, how to go about it. And I know things are really weird right now. I guess a lot of people are experiencing just a lot of changes in their day-to-day life, working from home
Right.
maybe, or I don't know. And a lot of people, I think it's one thing that we don't necessarily realize is that for a lot of people, oh, my computer just froze. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you fine.
My video just froze.
Might be
Um,
okay.
okay, I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Um, I think, yeah, this can be a huge shift for some people having to cook at home, or go out as little as possible in terms of um, having meals and things like that. So
Hmm.
maybe we can provide some, I don't know, just some helpful tips for some people. So
Yeah, I hope so.
what Pat and I are doing at home, really, I think the biggest thing for us has been our like the frequency that we go to the grocery store.
Hmm.
So obviously, we're it's recommended that we go out as little as possible and take as little trips to stores and things like that as possible. So we had been, so like you said, it's only been like 3 weeks
Yeah.
since our government's kind of said, stay home as much as you possibly can. So in those 3 weeks, we've been to the grocery store twice. Um, once, like, I think it was like the day that it was pretty much like stay home, we need to do our part, and we were like, okay, we got to go to the grocery store and stock up. So we went once, and then a week later we had to go again. And then since that last trip, it's been like 10 days, and we'll probably, like, by the 2 week mark, we'll definitely have to get there again. But that's definitely a big change than what we're used to.
Yeah.
Usually we're going at least once a week. And because of the work that I do in recipe development and creation and things like that, usually I'm at the grocery store another 1 or 2 times a week, like aside from the time that Pat and I go
Right.
on the weekend. So that's been a big change, having to kind of plan out everything for the week. Like, I think it's really important right now that, I guess, to make it easier in terms of making sure you have enough food for prolonged periods of time, and enough to kind of build meals that you actually want to eat and meals that are nourishing and satisfying is really planning before you go to the store. That's been big for
Right.
us. And usually I do that, but now, even more so now, I've really kind of had to sit down and, like, I guess, just be a little more thorough about it, and kind of think about what I'm going to eat for definitely dinner every day. And then also, even breakfast and some lunches, I'm like, what do we need to have on hand? If we want a quick lunch or whatever, or
Right.
what am I going to eat for breakfast? How many, nights are we going to cook dinner, and how many leftovers is that going to give us, and all that stuff, so that, we don't, I mean, we're not going to run out of food, but we're not kind of really standing in the kitchen with, like, random things being like, how are we going to make a meal out of this?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Um, what's worked for me too is trying to stay like business as usual. So just because I'm home, or Thomas and I are both home, we're lucky enough to get to work from home. I'm not trying to like go overboard and be even more adventurous, like, and
Right.
push myself outside of my comfort zone and
Yeah.
have fun with it, because I'm trying not to add stress um, in like a stressful time where there's already a lot of routine changes. So I'm really trying to build routine, and, like, as if I would go to the lab, like work from morning till the evening, and
Right.
then I want to have dinner like I normally would when I come home. And normally I come
Yeah.
home to meal prepped food. So I'm trying to stay business as usual, do meal prepping, and have that food.
Okay.
Actually, the nice thing about meal prepping when you're home is that you don't have to put all the food into individual Tupperware containers.
Ah,
It
yeah.
makes less dishes, so you can just like keep it in the pot or whatever, put
Right.
that in the fridge with the lid on, and it stays good. You can just like dole it out into bowls or plates
Right.
whenever you want to eat it. So that's
Well,
been
that's
really nice.
nice. Yeah.
So I am, although I am finding myself having time to make fresh meals here and there, but not to the point of adding stress. Just if I feel inspired and I want to put something together. Like last night, I really wanted to make a carbonara, um,
Mm.
because I saw a video of someone making a carbonara. So, that's like a really easy thing to make. So it was easy to put together.
Yeah.
I think something that I have done though is I have been baking a little bit more than I usually do,
Okay.
because it's only a little bit of effort, but you end up reaping rewards for quite a long time. Like when you bake a loaf of
Oh,
bread, and I will
absolutely.
tell
Yeah.
anybody listening, if you think you can't bake good bread, you are totally wrong. You can bake good bread, and I'll attach two different recipes here. Really, really easy recipes um, for baking bread.
I've
One is an
never baked
overnight
bread.
recipe. Oh my god! Yeah, I mean, it's the easiest thing. It's hard to make like excellent like French bakery
Right.
baguette. Like that's something that's really hard to do. Get like a perfect crust, get a good rise. It's not
Right.
overproofed, things like that. But it's really easy to make like a loaf of white bread. That is like a pretty simple thing, like a not
Yeah.
fancy loaf of white bread that tastes good even. I'll put two recipes in that are so easy to follow. The one good thing I'll say, or the one thing I'll say, is that it's important to have like um, not old. You want to have new instant yeast, and both the recipes I'm including use
Okay.
instant yeast or active dry yeast. Sorry. And it's good to have that fresh. Yeast does lose potency over time. So if you're somebody who has had like a bunch of baggies or a jar of yeast in your cupboard for like 3 years, um, it might have lost its potency and you will get less of a rise for these kind of quick recipes that
Okay.
need like good active dry yeast.
Right.
But yeast is not expensive and it's probably something that's easy to find at the grocery store. It's probably something that people aren't hoarding.
Okay, but
Um,
one thing that I'm finding people are hoarding is flour.
Flour, I know.
Yeah.
I have had to like, so I usually have like whatever the huge 5 kilogram bag of flour, and it takes me ages to get through it. And just like really inconveniently, I got through it around when the isolation started. Um, so I had to buy like a different brand that's maybe a little bit more expensive. Hopefully,
Okay.
I mean the food supply has been okay in Canada at least. Like
Hmm.
things are kind of
Yeah.
back on the shelves now. So hopefully people are finding the food that they need. But it's true, like there are things that are being hoarded. Unfortunately, if you're listening to this, don't or you're watching this, even don't be a hoarder. It doesn't help
Yeah.
anybody. We all
No.
need to get our groceries and think of the people who rely, like elderly people or like differently abled people who rely on going to the grocery store regularly
Hmm.
because they can't get big batches of groceries.
Exactly.
Think of those people. Don't hoard. Just know in your mind that everybody's trying to go to the grocery store at a normal pace and try to do that too.
I
Um,
agree. Yeah, the hoarding doesn't,
yeah.
it's not helpful.
It's not helpful. And one of the recipes I'll attach is actually a no knead recipe. So you literally just like put flour, water, yeast, and salt together and a little bit of sugar, I
Oh,
think, and
no
you don't
need.
need it. But another one does have a little bit of a need. So anyway, it's up to you what people want to do. They're both really easy. It's also a really great time to make muffins, biscuits,
Yeah,
other
we've been
baked
doing
goods that are
that.
gonna
Yeah.
last you the week, right? They're easy to
Yeah.
grab for a snack or to pair with a meal. Um, and again, I mean, what's worked for me is if you, I mean, I haven't felt like I need to make a 5 star quality meal every single day just
No.
because I'm home. I'm just doing what I normally do, and when I feel like I have the ability to put a bit more effort in, I go for it then.
Yeah, I think that's been the same for us. If anything, I feel like mealtime and meal preparation has been a little more simple.
Yeah,
I don't know necessarily why that is for us, but it might have something to do with, um, I guess, just not wanting to add any additional
yeah,
like
totally.
stress or like
Yeah,
exhaustion to the days because I think both for us anyways, we've been feeling, yeah, I mean, stress is a little bit heightened
yeah,
and even feelings of like motivation
totally.
and focus have been a little more difficult, I think,
You
with,
know what
you
that
know,
is? I heard something amazing yesterday. Actually, you know, Dr. Jen Gunter.
yep,
She had an Instagram live last night. Did you notice
okay.
that?
No, I didn't. I
Um,
wasn't, my phone was dead pretty much all last night, so I wasn't on
oh,
Instagram.
okay. So it was kind of fun. Like she's such a cool person. If people listening don't know her, she's the author of the Vagina Bible, and she does a lot of fake science, fake medicine
Mm-hmm.
debunking.
Mm-hmm.
She calls bad people out on Twitter. She's
Yep,
awesome.
she is.
Dr. Jen Gunter, and she had an Instagram live last night where she went live with a psychiatrist,
Okay.
and the psychiatrist was said a phrase that kind of stuck with me, which I was reminded of while you were talking. She said, "We're having normal reactions to an abnormal situation."
Right.
So the kind of stress that we're having and the behaviors that we're developing. So you're saying maybe your meal times are even more simple now. That's a normal reaction to this abnormal situation.
Right.
So we just kind of like need to be kind to ourselves and be okay with
Absolutely.
that. And in times of anxiety, kind of try to like make lists and
Yep.
you know, get your thoughts out. Maybe even like kind of some mindfulness, like make yourself present in the space around you, and
Yeah.
try to
I
figure
think
out where to move on to next.
also everyone's reactions are going to be like my reaction may not be the same as yours. And like we kind of all have different ways that we react to stress
Yeah.
and abnormal situations. So, I mean, obviously, there might be some similarities, but they may not be exactly the same. So, I think that's important to realize as well when I think, a lot of us are spending a lot more time on social media
Yeah,
and the internet these days. So seeing how other people are reacting or things like that, you know, it might be different from how you're feeling or how you're dealing with it. So it's important to remember that as well.
totally.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
Did you hear
cat.
that?
Yep. That was so funny. That was so cute.
That's him being happy for anybody listening. Like
Oh,
he's a very strange cat.
that
Anyway,
was so sweet. Okay. What else do you have on your notes there, Tarek, to
so I mean, I can kind of very quickly go through a few points here about grocery shopping and food delivery. So we've
Oh yeah,
been
let's talk about that.
very lucky enough to take advantage of grocery pickup and online ordering where we are. So Loblaws is one of the major grocery chains in Canada,
Yeah.
and they have, I think, across the country made their pickup fees free. Um,
Okay.
so anybody can order groceries online, go in their car. So they've set up this system now where you don't even leave your car.
Yeah.
You call a number, they come outside, you pop your trunk, they put the groceries in your trunk, shut your trunk, and you drive away. So that way there's no contact with another person at all.
Wow.
And then you go home and, take care and cleanse appropriately, um, wash your hands and stuff like that. But it really does cut down on the interaction with other people. Really good way to help plank the curve. And the fact that this big corporation has taken the time to get rid of those fees for pickup, I think is really cool. I will
Yeah,
say
that's great.
grocery stores are probably one of the only industries that aren't hurting right now. So they can, like, it's nice, but I'm not like getting down on my hands and knees like praising them, but like they can definitely afford to get rid of those fees right now. A lot of people are
Right.
buying
Right.
maybe more groceries than normal, but I think
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a really nice move on their part, and I do
I agree.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Um, because people are indulging a lot more in groceries right now, so that they can probably afford to get rid of those fees, but it
for
ends
sure.
up helping everybody out, ends up helping to plank the curve, hopefully reducing the interaction with other people.
Yeah.
Have you done the online orders and pickup?
No, we haven't. I think we one day we looked into doing it, but we hadn't planned far enough ahead, and they were like really because obviously people are utilizing these services,
Hmm.
and um, the only like pickup time that was available was like 3 or 4 days later.
Hmm.
Like you really have to order them in
And
advance,
now
right?
it's like a week and a half almost.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like
we
it's
haven't
getting
done
pretty
it.
tight. Yeah.
We have, I mean, like I said, we've been to the grocery store twice in the last 3 weeks. Um, and we've been going in the store. We've been, um, I mean, we started wearing gloves. We were wearing gloves in the grocery store, and just being careful around what we're, um, touching and obviously keeping our distance from other people. What else have we been doing? Trying to be as good as possible about kind of like the one touch rule. Like, we're not, and I hope other people are doing this as well, but not like squeezing fruits and then putting them back and things like
Yeah.
that. Like if we touch it, we're taking it.
Right.
So we've been doing that. And then being really careful around um, I mean, we've been bringing our own bags so that like we're the only ones that have to touch them and like bagging our own groceries. We try to use self checkout. I mean, it's still kind of like if you don't do self checkout and you're going in the like you have a cashier, you're obviously coming in contact with another person. Um, so we try to avoid that. But then again, with the self checkout, I mean, you still have the touch
Sure. You're
screens and
touching
things like
things. Yeah.
that. So yeah, I mean, we have been wearing gloves, and then just making sure we're sanitizing our hands as soon as we, touch something or as soon as we leave the grocery store. Um, we've been doing that, but it hasn't been too bad. I know now that I think some grocery stores are here. I'm not 100% sure across Canada, but are starting to roll out like only letting a certain number of people in the store
Yeah, I think so.
at
There's a
once.
150 person maximum in Nova Scotia at least.
I
So
think that's
they
what
have
it is
people
here too.
counting as people come in. Hmm.
Is it only in Loblaws?
I think so. So in Nova Scotia, that law applies to all.
My
like
dad,
gatherings, you can't
this
have
is
more
just
than 150 people, like
this
at
is
a
just
business.
a side note, but my dad was at Sobeys the other day. I was talking to him on the phone, and he said that like it was packed, and there was definitely way more
Ooh.
than 150 people in there.
And I think
And
even smaller stores are only allowed a maximum of 5 people, if I'm not
wow,
wrong. Please check the news. I'm not
right.
a
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
politician.
Um, so that's good anyways. But again, we haven't been since not this Friday, but a week before, like a week
Hmm.
from Friday. It's Sunday
Yeah.
today. So it's been a while, so I'm sure things are changing every day. And in terms of the regulations that they're putting in place and things like that. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
what it'll be like when we get there next, but um, so far it's been okay. I honestly think, and I think it's important to continue to drive home that like the biggest, I'm not saying there's not risks in other places because there still, is, chances, or like the virus can, what is it, like stay stable, or it doesn't, on certain surfaces, it takes
Yeah. I
longer
mean,
to
there's a
break
lot
down
of
and things like
factors
that.
there, like whether or not, yeah, how long it stays on the surface, but also like how much of the virus is on the surface is really going to contribute to whether or not there's an actual infection. There's a lot of different variables there.
Right. So, I mean, the most important thing that we've been doing is making sure we're not coming in contact with other people.
Exactly. The physical
That we're
distancing is
the
huge.
physical distancing, that's our number one. And then, when it comes to touching things and things like that, we're trying to be really careful as well. But um, yeah, for me, the most important thing has been the distancing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I only really have one more thing. I kind of wanted
Okay.
to talk a little bit about eating disorders.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
I
I
did a
did as
little bit
well.
of a, oh, nice. Okay. I did a little bit, it's just short here. I did a little bit of literature review on, I thought it would be interesting to look into isolation and eating disorders because obviously there's a lot of people who are isolated right now.
Yep.
And there's a review I'll link called The Role of Perceived Loneliness and Isolation in the Relapse from Recovery in Patients with Anorexia and Bulimia Nervosa. It's by Wendy
Okay.
Stewart, who at the time was at New York University studying for a PhD. And it
Okay.
turns out there seems to be some association between perceived loneliness and relapse, which kind of makes sense. So I'm kind of extrapolating here, but it almost seems natural to think that people with disordered eating patterns or history of disordered eating might be vulnerable to relapse during physical isolation
Mm.
because so now we have physical isolation because of certain government measures against the spread of COVID-19, but these people are left without their network that they're usually relying on, whether it's
Yeah.
family, friends, or also importantly, their clinical care team. So these people might end up struggling. So I personally, like for things that I need help with, I've been lucky enough to still be in contact with my family doctor as well as my therapist over the phone.
Nice.
Um, but I know, seriously, like I know how hard it is to make those calls. But I would urge people to maybe call their clinics and call their clinical care workers to see if they'd be willing to do consultations over the phone if they're finding themselves needing them. Lots
Yeah.
of doctors are actually doing phone or video consultations. And I wasn't a believer at first. I was like, I don't think this is going to help me, like calling
Yeah.
my therapist over the phone. But I'm totally on board now. It might not work for everybody, but it's really hard to make that first step to try to get help. But
Right.
especially in this time where we're maybe isolated more than normal,
Yeah.
it's important to take care of yourself. And there are people who want to take care of you. Like there are people
Yeah.
spending their time taking care of their patients.
Totally.
So maybe hopefully hearing this, someone out there will say who maybe needs some help right now will take that step towards trying to get help in a time of physical distancing.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point, and it's important, yeah, to note that most practitioners, like whether it's your family doctor or your therapist or your eating disorder dietitian or whoever it is that you've been seeing, like they're probably offering some sort of, whether it's by phone or um, virtual online meetings, like most people are offering that. So I think, yeah, I like you said, as hard as it is to kind of make that first call or
Yeah.
take that step, they're there for you. And
Yeah.
they still want to, like, especially during a time like this, like, they want to be of service to you and help you kind of manage um, through the situation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, take advantage. It's not like inconveniencing anyone by,
No.
needing to talk on the phone or whatever it is. That's their job and that's what they're there for. So,
And understand that it's again like if someone is having some sort of symptoms, like or maybe feeling like they're relapsing into some sort of disordered eating behaviors, like this is a normal reaction to an
yep.
abnormal situation.
Yeah, so I was reading some posts from some eating disorder specialists, just trying to create awareness around, right now, like you said, um, yeah, some people's reactions to times of stress like this, or specifically like the isolation and the fear of food scarcity and things like that can absolutely trigger um, yeah, eating disorder, old eating disorder behaviors, or relapse, like you said. So, um, yeah, it's important, I think, to note that these are one, like normal um, responses, but also two, that there's still, even though we're isolated, there's still resources available to you or support available
Totally.
to you. Yeah. Also, I think it's important to like be sensitive online as well,
Yes.
um
Oh my
around
gosh. Yeah,
like
yeah.
I get everyone's making jokes and everyone's like also trying to find like the humor in this, but I think it's also like there's so much going on around the internet, like in terms of diet culture and things like that, around how to avoid weight gain um during quarantine, and at least on like, I mean, on like I'm on TikTok, and like on TikTok they're like calling it the quarantine 15.
No. Oh
Yeah,
no.
and like how
Why
to
does
avoid,
everything rhyme?
I know. Like, so there's all these posts like how to avoid the quarantine 15 and things like that, or drink this to avoid the quarantine 15. And like just stop. Like seriously, there are so many worse things that are happening right now than if you gain a little bit
Yeah.
of weight, number one.
Yeah.
Um, and that's like the last thing that we really should be worrying about.
Yes.
Um, I think, again, like this obviously applies to day-to-day life, but also, especially right now, like your number one priority obviously should be staying home and social distancing and, um, you know, flattening the curve. But then number two, like take care of yourself. It again, it shouldn't be about your weight, because like if you gain a couple pounds, that's not the worst thing that could happen in this situation.
Yeah. Seriously.
Um, and just weight does not need to be something that comes into play right now.
No,
So
yeah,
that's been
we
really
should all be
frustrating.
taking care of our mental health, and part of that is, I mean, as we talked about when we talked about intuitive eating, is not guilting yourself and not
Yeah,
having shame or stigma around eating behaviors, which are
yeah,
very likely to
exactly.
change during this time.
Yeah, yeah. We really, that's something that is important to know. Yeah, reducing the shame and the stigma and being kind to yourself and compassionate to yourself, because we really don't need any
Yeah.
um, additional stress or pressure
I
on
really
top of
like
what
that
we
you
already
mentioned
feeling.
like some people are finding the humor in this, and it's true. Like it's nice to find humor in things, but I really don't find it funny when people make jokes about disordered eating. Like that's not funny to
No,
me.
no, it's not
Yeah,
funny at all. Yeah.
yeah,
I think some people just think it like they don't recognize like the stigma, the weight stigma, and the
right,
like fat phobia attached to like making jokes around gaining weight during this time or stuff like that.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I
Those
just
are
got
really
all
all my
like,
points.
I got all angry there for a
Yeah,
second.
I'll see it in the video.
I know. Oh, I was like waving my hands around. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I'm just reviewing my notes here.
Yeah,
Everything that I wanted to touch on, we touched on like food delivery and grocery shopping. um, meal planning, meal prepping. I think, yeah, like just to, I guess if we wanted to leave you guys with something, I would say, um, and we've already mentioned it, but if your eating habits are different right now than what they usually are, that's okay. And that's,
Yeah.
again, a totally normal response. Like if your hunger and fullness feels different than it usually does, or what you're craving feels different than what you usually crave, like those are all very normal things. And um, don't overthink that, and don't, feel guilt or shame around what you're eating or what you're feeling right now, because you don't need that on top of, everything else we're being overwhelmed with.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can really relate to that. I won't get too much into it, but Hannah, I mean, the isolation came at a very strange time when I was also
Yeah.
experiencing a lot of grief
Yeah.
personally. And yeah, I mean, there's no sense in stopping your body from trying to take care of itself.
Exactly.
Try to, you know, be healthy in all the different ways. And those include like eating nutritious foods and having some movement, but it also includes not being hard on yourself.
Yeah.
That's
And
also
also,
healthy.
like, there's some days where you might just feel like sitting on the couch, and like that's
Totally.
okay too. I know there's so much, this could be a whole other episode, but there's this, like, there's been a boom and like craze around home workouts and people doing like live workouts on their social media and like trying to encourage people to get moving, and like to some extent I
Some of it has been
respect that.
helpful for me,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
respect it and it's great, but then I've also seen people who like, and if, I mean, of course it comes with being in like the health and wellness
Yeah.
territory, but I've also seen people like just, it just, you can tell that like there must be some sort of internal struggle, and they're like
Yeah.
clinging to like the need to exercise every day, and like,
There's like a fat
um
phobia part of it.
yeah, exactly. And that's kind of been rubbing me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that, but
No,
I
yeah,
don't
no, I
remember what I
totally got that.
started talking about, what point I was trying to make, but
Just
um
about like it's okay to if you don't have movement
yeah,
some days, like it's not the end of the world.
yeah, exactly, exactly, yeah,
Yeah,
it's not the end of the
absolutely.
world, and
Well,
it never was, and it's still
no,
not. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I was just going to say I do have a tasty this week.
Me too.
Oh, awesome. Okay, do you
I'm
want to go
drinking it
first?
right now.
Oh, okay. What? Okay. I wish I could see. I will see soon.
So this has also been something that's kind of been going around the internet
Oh,
right
wait. I
now.
know what it is. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So those, like, I don't even know what the right name for it is, but I'll put it on the video. It's almost empty now, but it's like these frothy, creamy coffee,
Oh, whipped coffee. That's
whipped
what they're
coffee.
calling
That's
it.
what it is,
Yeah.
whipped coffee.
Yeah.
So whipped coffee, these concoctions have been floating around the internet, with lots of recipe videos and how-tos. And Pat and I tried it the other day, and it's actually quite delicious. So, did you
Mm.
try it, Tara?
No, I will. I haven't tried it
Okay.
yet, but I will. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I mean, the simplest recipe for it is you use instant coffee, which apparently a lot of people, you guys let us know this, but apparently a lot of people have
Yeah.
instant coffee at home. Pat
I'm
and
a snob and I don't have instant coffee.
so are we, and we don't
I have
usually.
I have 100 different ways to make coffee, but
Yeah,
none of them
exactly.
are instant.
So the simplest recipe is with 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, or one, depending on how strong you like your coffee. It's just like the same ratio of instant coffee to sugar to water. So if you
Water.
do 2 tablespoons, you do 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of water. If you do one, it's 1 to 1 to 1. And you put them all in a bowl together, and then you either like whisk them by hand. That takes obviously longer. Or you can use electric beaters or like a stand mixer, and you beat it, for I don't know how long, until it becomes this like whipped,
It's
frothy,
like
like
soft
thick.
peaks, right? That's is
Yeah,
that how you
exactly.
describe it?
Like
Yeah.
yeah, it has like soft peaks, and it's very airy, and like it looks super smooth and like shiny and creamy. And that's your whipped coffee, and you serve it over. I guess you can serve it hot or cold. We've been doing it cold. You serve it over milk. of like whatever milk of choice you
Are you
want.
serving it over steamed milk?
No, we've been serving it over cold, just like over
Oh, even
ice.
the milk is cold. Okay, okay. Oh, I
Yeah,
guess you're not heating up the
no,
the froth. Yeah, okay, that makes
no.
sense. Yeah.
And then you kind of like stir it in a little bit, and it like the whipped coffee kind of drips into the milk, and it all
Oh, I
mixes
bet
together.
Thomas would love that. He loves milk. Yeah,
He probably would. I love
yeah,
milk too.
yeah.
And yeah, it's just it's really tasty. It's quite sweet. So I don't really love sweet coffee drinks that
No,
much. Like here and there
no.
for a little treat I do, but on like every morning I don't really crave
I know. I'm a
sweetness in my
savory
coffee.
little baby. I love savory.
Yeah. So anyways, it's nice. It's I think everyone should give it a little try
Yeah.
if you have instant coffee at home, or maybe in your next grocery order you can put instant coffee. But Pat actually figured out a way to do it with brewed coffee.
Mm.
Because we didn't have instant coffee, it takes quite a bit longer. Like you almost have to like boil the brewed coffee first. Like
When you say
you
brewed,
let
you
it
mean
cool.
like he's actually like using the grinds to make coffee almost, and then using those used grinds to make
No,
the. Oh,
he's using coffee.
yeah. Oh, but he's not brewing it.
No, he is.
Oh.
Like he brews.
Oh, he's using coffee.
He's brewing coffee.
Oh,
Yeah,
as the
not
liquid.
grinds.
Oh, that's
No, I
genius.
don't know
Because then
how
you
he
just,
does it,
that's really
but
smart, because then you just use 2 tablespoons of that, because it's already
I
the
don't.
coffee and the water.
Maybe I don't know.
Pat's a genius. Pat's a
I don't know
genius.
what he's doing. He had to look it up on YouTube and use a few different videos to figure it out.
Oh
So,
my,
anyways,
he's so
that's what we've
smart.
been doing, but you get the same result, and
He's so
it's
smart.
delicious. So that's
Yeah.
my tasty of the week.
That's awesome. That's a great taste. I am going to try it.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, what's
My
yours?
tasty is I recently watched There's Something in the Water,
Oh,
the
yes.
film directed by Ellen Page and
We
Ian
weren't able
Daniels.
to attend your Netflix party. We had
Oh
a Zoom
yeah.
session scheduled with my family.
Oh, nice. Okay. It was so good. The movie, as much as it is about environmental racism and how the Nova Scotian province and obviously in many other places, communities of color, Indigenous communities, Black communities are often the ones where local governments decide to put dumps near, literally like garbage dumps, or even the disposal of wastewater from factories, because they think it's kind of like away from urban centers or
Right.
highly densely populated urban centers, that are maybe driving more economic growth. They think they can just hide them there. Uh, but
Okay.
unfortunately, not only is that discriminatory, but it ends up hurting these people, their health, their
Yeah.
wellness, their food supply.
Yeah.
Um, it's really really tragic, but as much as it is so, I thought the movie was also very much also about the power of incredible female leadership. It's all these really really awesome women who are taking charge, being activists and making real change, maybe not even just like through local activism and inspiring others, but through implementing government bylaws, for example. Really
Mm.
incredible stuff. And I think the really cool thing, also, someone made this point. Oh, I think Sarah made this point. Ellen Page does a really good job of like not centering herself in the movie. So she gives
Yeah,
her
she said
name
that.
and her like her, I don't know, notability or notoriety,
Yeah.
um, to give a platform to the
Right.
content of the
Right.
film without making it about her, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, really, really good movie,
We have to
um,
watch it.
and it's on Netflix,
It
so
is on
it's really
Netflix.
easy to
Okay.
find.
We'll be
Yeah.
watching.
And also make bread. You know what?
Yes.
I'm gonna tell everybody to make bread. If you can find flour and yeast, make bread.
I have whole
I'm
wheat
really gonna
flour. Can I
promote that.
make bread with that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
I don't have
absolutely.
yeast though. So, okay.
Okay,
Next
yeah.
next time I go to the store,
You
also I'm
could
gonna
make your
see
own starter.
I could do that.
You could
I
make your own
could.
starter. I'm
Maybe if
looking at
I
you in the video with
maybe if I muscle up the
my head tilted, and I'm
motivation.
saying, you could make starter. You could make starter.
Oh, I could cry. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Well, How do we feel? That was good.
I feel weird that we've been on video this whole time.
I feel kind of weird. Also, I feel kind of weird just recording. Like, I feel like it's been so long. We had a little hiatus. I feel like it was a good break. I'm
Yeah,
definitely like motivated and inspired to keep recording now
I know. I'm
and
so
do
excited. Yeah.
another full season.
I'm excited to
So
do some non-COVID related topics.
me too. I hope that everyone is, you know, receptive of that. I think they will be. I think, a lot of people, as much as we want to stay up to date, people are also looking for a little bit of a distraction sometimes.
I'm sure it'll
Um,
inspire some BSs of the week.
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, stay tuned, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, stay tuned for our next episode.
Thanks for
Um,
joining our show, our
yeah,
CNN show,
yes,
whatever
yes, yes.
channel we're on.
Yeah, let us
Comedy
know.
Central.
Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know what you thought of the video. Um, and I think that's all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.